Hello guys, welcome back to my channel. I hope you're all doing well. So back in February, I was so grateful to be able to attend the Gallifrey 1 convention in LA. Pretty sure it's the longest running American Who convention. And it was such a lovely time. I really hope I'm going to be able to go again next year. And of course, on top of meeting Alex Kingston, which was one of the highlights of my life, probably my favorite panel or interview I went to the whole time was with Matthew Waterhouse. Of course, the actor that portrayed everybody's favorite boy genius before Phoebe Bridgers, Adric. And this kind of reignited childhood obsession I had with Adric. And it was probably easiest to identify with him just because he was the youngest character I could possibly find in the show. But on this sort of rediscovery of Adric and watching a lot more of the Fifth Doctor than I had ever seen before, I came across a variety of discussions that compared and contrasted Clara and Adric. And at first glance, they kind of seem like they would have no relation whatsoever besides being the Doctor's companion, but there's one sort of major theme that binds them together, which is that they both try and fail to be the Doctor. So I thought it would be interesting to just make a quick little video and explore some of the ways that I see them both try to emulate the Doctor and, how different those portrayals are as they fit the ideals of each character. So I think the major way that both Clara and Adric try to, emulate the Doctor is by appropriating the manner that he moves and speaks. They are able to sort of highlight the characteristics about him that they find the most ideal, and try to interweave that with their own personality. I think the aspect of that both of them do and do very well is that they're really good question askers. That's sort of a prerequisite for being a good companion, but I think Clara and Adric both, with their different areas of knowledge and expertise, make it so that they can do a really good, back and forth with the Doctor and ask the right questions that point him in the right direction. And in that sense, Adric is, one of the companions that knows the most lingo. He knows all the science terms, he knows all the math shit, and he's able to just sort of fling that out whenever necessary, which I think is a very Doctor-like tendency to gather all of this information and be able to sort of regurgitate it in a little monologue at a moment's notice. And Clara as well is very good at being able to talk herself out of situations like the Doctor is. She knows how to play a variety of social games that make her really adept at being able to gain new information and manipulate someone at the same time. And just generally be able to, use her words to get out of a scenario before anything goes farther than that. Again, generally, I think Clara is very good at the game of conversation, which is funny because I feel like the Doctor is sort of generally characterized as a socially awkward character, but most of his incarnations, especially Tennant or Tom Baker, are so socially aware and are really able to use their charm and charisma to completely change the outcome of the situation. But the two Doctors that have some of the hardest times with that are 11 and 12. And then here's Clara, who at a lot of points has to be the person to do that for 12. And I've talked about this before, but I feel like more than any other companion than maybe Rose, Clara just has this innate sense of adventure, this inherent joy and drive to see the universe, which matches really well with someone like the Doctor, who basically gave up whatever life existed on Gallifrey to run away and keep running for thousands of years just to experience as much of the universe as he can. And that is certainly not the case for Five's TARDIS team. In Earthshock, Adric is kind of ready to go home. Tegan is trying to get home literally like her entire fucking run. And even other companions that enjoy being in the TARDIS, they don't relish in it the same way that Clara does. They don't have the vim and vigor that she has to go out into the world and see what it has to offer. But I think probably the major way that both Clara and Adric emulate the Doctor, and probably do the most successfully, is the way that they just do their own fucking thing. They can genuinely hold their own in a lot of dangerous situations, at least up to a point. And they're both companions that have specifically forced themselves back into the TARDIS even when the Doctor didn't want them there. You know, Adric was a stowaway, and there are a number of times where the Doctor either wants Clara to leave and she won't, or the Doctor doesn't want to leave and Clara makes him. None of them are willing to accept their lot. At any given moment, all three of them are fighting back against their destiny. We have that whole sort of thing of Adric and his like community role in Full Circle, Clara trying to doctorly clever talk her way out of death and face the Raven, and basically every single thing that the Doctor has ever done his entire life is saying, no, you know, I get to choose. It's my life. And while I generally think that that actually is one of the most admirable qualities about all three of them, each of them are also quite prone to getting in over their heads because of staunch opinions and, you know, a drive to see things out the way they want it.
Try to understand, Adric, because you get away with something, it doesn't justify it.
And one of the biggest problems that, you know, the two of them encounter is their own mortality. I mean, that is something that, try as they might, even, you know, with Clara being the impossible girl or whatever, and Adric, you know, being an alien, the Doctor can regenerate. And, I mean, especially with all of the insane plot shit that's been going on in the past couple of years, he's basically immortal. Even though I don't know how a Time Lord would survive the explosion and earthshock, Adric doesn't have the increased physical capability of the Doctor, and so no matter how fast his mind can work, his body can't always keep up with it.
Now I'll never know if I was right.
And I think the fact that after the events of Face the Raven, even though, you know, most of it was the Doctor's doing, Clara knows she's in between her last heartbeat and decides to continue exploring the universe with no end date in sight. One, an incredibly callous move, and two, a very Doctor-like move. And I think that's an interesting thing about both Adric and Clara and their relation to the Doctor is sometimes while trying to emulate their ideal of the Doctor, they're actually able to highlight some of his worst, pettiest qualities.
I was the Doctor and I was good.
You were an exceptional Doctor, Clara.
Thank you.
Goodness had nothing to do with it.
Which is also true in the fact that there are things that they criticize him for that then they also imitate. Whether it's like the Fifth Doctor's ego or the 12th Doctor's propensity for lying. And I think it's really funny then that fans generally have a gripe with both of them. Again, it's a similar thing I talked about in my Feminine Resilience of Doctor Who essay. I don't think fans like it when characters, you know, truly threaten the Doctor and when they think highly enough of themselves to equate themselves to the Doctor. And to continue on this note of negative relationships, I think it's interesting that they both rub up against the Doctor negatively in more than the sort of general sassy companion way. They really say no, they really disagree, they have real fights where they're like actually yelling at each other in ways that like we really see most companions get to that level with the Doctor. And with the screaming, I feel like both of them are companions that scream more than average. I mean, not in like the Mel screaming at everything scream way, but they just yell a lot. You know, it's easy to get them up to an 11 really quickly. And they're characters that rub up negatively against a lot of people in their lives. They have more bickering relationships with side characters than a lot of other companions.
Will you shut up?
It's long past time you learned to obey orders.
Whether it's Adric and Tegan, like, constantly catfighting with one another, or Clara and Danny's very tumultuous relationship. Clara and Adric both come from societies that don't understand them. And when they meet the Doctor, he is so literally of another world that they think he must be the answer. But when he's not, they get mad at him when really I kind of think they should be mad at themselves and the ways that they idealized him or idealized their path in life without really stopping and thinking, what do I want? What do I need?
I'm tired of being an outsider, Doctor. I want to go back to my own people.
And in their own ways, I really think that they do kind of feel like certain after images of the Doctor. In a way, Adric is almost like a younger version of the Doctor. I feel like we can kind of infer one of the reasons that Five is so bad with him is because he probably reminds him of his younger self. And I think Clara kind of feels like a human Doctor. There are a lot of decisions that she makes that are too emotional and too grounded in a single mortal average life and being plucked away from that are sort of situations that the Doctor can't relate to. I think probably the places where she really does go off the rails, like the whole key thing at the beginning of Dark Water, that response is too human for the Doctor. But if the Doctor was human, that might be what he would do in that situation. And like the Doctor, Adric's brains and very logical, mathematical understanding of the world and thus abstract concepts like his social life, like gender, like empathy, are things that he sort of funnels through the wrong, set of rule systems. And I think that's a problem that the Doctor has a lot as well. Not being able to adhere to not only just the ways that humans conduct themselves, but how humans feel. And so while Adric's brains get in the way of him being human, Clara's unwavering confidence gets in the way of being as clever as she tries to be because she's actually not thinking as logically as she should be. She has sort of all the charm and charisma and know-how in that way as, some of the more socially adept Doctors do, but then she doesn't actually have that logical, mathematical, scientific backlog like somebody like Adric or like the Doctor would have to get her out of situations that require knowing what that one element is, knowing what that one planet was, how to hack into that one computer. And so I'll leave this with the final conclusion that I'm very interested to see what people have to say, but I kind of feel like if you could morph Adric and Clara, put them together into one person, wouldn't that be the Doctor? Adric is the left brain, Clara is the right brain. Adric is the masculine, Clara is the feminine. Adric is the intelligence, Clara is the confidence. They each have these sort of opposite ideals of the Doctor that they try to get to, but by only trying to get to that one side of him, they lose all those other aspects that really make the Doctor what he is. But if you sort of have both of these sides, then there's the Doctor. So yeah, that's about it. As always, I'm very interested to hear what people have to say about this. Do you think there are any other companions like this that really sort of try and emulate the Doctor? If so, who? I think there's probably a case to make some similar points about somebody like Rose, and of course the sort of alien scientific genius aspects of people like Nyssa or Romana. maybe it's just because the new season is premiering right now, but I have this and another, casual Doctor Who video that I'm working on right now while I'm in the midst of these two really, really long projects that will be out, hopefully at least by the end of the summer. So if you like this, then like, subscribe, and put on the bell for next time, because my next video will 98% also be a Doctor Who video. With all that said, thank you so much for watching this video. I hope you have a good one, and I'll see you next time.